Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dermalux Business Webinar. So we're going to be discussing strategies to boost business and profitability during lockdown and beyond. So I'm Louise Taylor from Dermalux, and today we're joined by our very special guest, business mentor and CEO Pam Underdown from Aesthetic Business Transformations. In our last webinar, we discussed the Flex at Home rental program, which has become very popular and very successful, obviously for clinics to support their clients during lockdown at home, but also to help to generate revenue. So we discussed that in quite a bit of detail. So if you haven't seen that, that's still available to watch on our YouTube channel. But now, as we look forward sort of to getting back into the clinic finally, we're going to be looking at some post-lockdown strategies to help us focus our activities sort of into the right areas to help increase profitability. So Pam's going to be discussing these core strategies with us, and then we'll be looking at how they sort of relate to Dermalux as well. So we'll have a discussion around that. So we've had a number of questions and topics submitted, so thank you so much for all of these. We'll try and cover as much as we can. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. Again, if we get a chance, we'll answer them as we go along. But yeah, without any further delay, I'm going to hand over to Pam and let her introduce herself. So thank you, Pam.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Pam Underdown. So I'm the owner of Aesthetic Business Transformations. So business coach and mentor, been in the industry since 2005, but we've had this business for 7 years now this year. So, and then this is Adam. So Adam's my husband, business partner. He's our digital marketing expert because we had quite a few questions about marketing. I thought, great, let's get Adam on as well. So thank you for those that have sent through the questions ready for this evening. And as Louise said, there's obviously been a lot of webinars that you guys have done, haven't there, that you've recorded. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Flex and various options there this evening. So you can watch those afterwards if you haven't seen them already. So I guess really over to you, Louise. You've got the questions with you, haven't you?
We'll start at the top. So okay, so first one, what would be your top 3 ways to fill your diary with bookings once we have a timeline for coming out of lockdown?
Oh, good question.
Good question, yeah.
Yeah, so there's going to be multiple ways, and we're going to talk about things that you can do during lockdown as well to make full use of this time. But I think the big things to focus on, number 1 would be what we would call unconverted leads. So this is people that they've been in contact. Maybe you've had, it could be as simple as an email or a social media message or something like that, but somebody that has literally reached out but not taken the next step. And it could be they've obviously not taken the next step because the clinic's shut, and you might not have things in place to have discussions with them. But I would certainly start there because they've reached out to you, your marketing's worked. Now's the time to really talk to them and to see what you can do to get them over the line and booked in. So, I mean, unconverted leads is a big one. People that have been to you, maybe they had a consultation last year.
Yeah.
Situations change all the time, especially at the moment, things are changing every 5 minutes. So, their situation could have changed. So I would literally pick up the phone, speak to them, not as necessarily a sales call, but a service call, find out how they are, how their skin's been during lockdown, if there's any questions that they've got, and just get that conversation started because there was a reason they contacted you in the first place. Yeah. And there's obviously going to be multiple reasons maybe that they haven't booked.
People's circumstances can and do change, so it's worth going back over a fair period of time, 6 to 12 months. Look at all the interactions that you've had with consumers, and because that's, like I say, that's a touch point. You might have had a conversation or an interaction whereby they weren't ready to take the first step in the process, but things can and do change. People might be more receptive to the idea now, more open to it, especially coming out of lockdown, looking for something to really look forward to, boost their self-esteem. So it's worth following up. That's one of the quickest and easiest ways to get bookings. One of 3 ways, actually. There's 2 other ways. Yeah.
So what we would call your low-hanging fruit, basically. So that's one of them, unconverted leads. And it's something that people forget because they're constantly, I just want new patients. But actually, there's going to be a lot there in terms of gold mine, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Second one I would say would be referrals. Now, this is a big one that most people say to us, they do rely on word of mouth referrals, but they usually haven't got a documented process and system for proactively asking for referrals. If you think about it even more so now, most people understand that small businesses need supporting. We need, we want to say thank you for those that have supported us. And we want for the people that, we like to work with, your ideal clients, your ideal patients, we would love more of them. And what better compliment than to say, actually, we'd love more people like you. Who do you know? Here's our process. It's not just relying on what we call hope referrals. Oh, I hope they were happy and I hope they tell their friends. And then, of course, it's the people that don't want to tell their friends, it's about making it easy for them to remember, writing it down, getting it printed out, handing out leaflets and cards, really talking about it, and actually encouraging people to do it.
So like a follow-up, could they do some, like sort of, after the treatments, obviously making sure that contact is kept, and yes, and that incentive to actually then look at their wider network to
absolutely. And not everyone will want to refer friends. A lot of people like to keep things secret, but if you make it compelling enough that those that do want to talk about it. So I'm not necessarily talking about, we've got to be careful when it comes to medical treatments and offering incentives with those, but for non-medical treatments, if you had something really compelling that, for example, with a minimum spend, say of 200, 250, if they refer one, they get £50 credit on account. The friend gets maybe 25. If they refer three, they get something as big as, say, 200 credit on account. Each friend still gets 25 as long as they have the treatment. And then if they refer five, it's something as big as 300. The reason I say to make the figures quite big is to make it compelling and exciting and sexy enough that people want to talk about it.
Yes.
But do your sums first, and don't look at this necessarily as we don't normally say discount things, but this is a strategic discount for marketing to bring new people through the door. So it's cost you 50 plus the 25. Work it out from a profitability perspective, but look at that as what it's cost you to buy that new patient.
Yes.
And then think about, even if you only break even for their first treatment, then it's about the lifetime value of the patient.
Yeah.
Then it's what can you do to get them in more often, really maximize that result, and get them on that treatment plan. So it's not just about that first visit.
It's actually with the Dermalux treatment, because there's no consumables with it. It's basically the cost of the electricity to do the session. It is a good way to use it. Of course, we don't want to undervalue the treatment, because obviously it's a powerful treatment in its own right, but it's a great treatment to use because there's not a lot of there's a lot of product cost or time cost involved with it, so it can be used to help bring people in at that kind of a rate, I suppose, and particularly after lockdown, where people, like you said, people want the feel-good treatment, so it's something that can easily be sort of used to
absolutely. So we've been working with clients obviously during lockdown, putting together, looking at their marketing, their website, their messaging. But one big thing we've been working on with a lot of clients is packages and treatment plans and programs, and what people obviously can do at home, but of course what they can do to get that commitment from the client to get that amazing result, but gets them tied into your practice, coming in regularly every month, getting hands-on faces, really building that connection and obviously that relationship. But more importantly, from a retention perspective, the more that they love you, the more friends that just like them that you would love to find more of.
Yeah,
so
definitely. So just trying to formalize it really, because word of mouth is the lifeblood of a lot of aesthetic clinics, and it has been, you know, for a long time. But not that, you know, with a few rare exceptions, not many people have formalized it. Not many people have documented it and actually shared it with people and said, look, this is how we grow. It would mean a hell of a lot to us if you were to take our referral literature and pass that on to those who you know would be open to the conversation. Because if it's formalized, there's just, it increases the chances of them of somebody actually taking that step and referring somebody on.
So even if, you know, we had one client say to us once, so we got that refer a friend thing, we sent out an email, but we didn't get much response. I said, okay, what did you do as well as the email then?
Oh, right.
And then obviously, they sent out one email.
So you've got to,
you've got to have multiple ways of getting hold of people, because if you're lucky, 20% of people will see an email. So it's, you know, you've got to then follow up maybe with a text. Did you see my email? And then pop something in the post and just really talk about it and just help them to remember that it's there, to say thank you, especially thank them for their support during lockdown.
Do you think do you think social works for this, you know, actually just putting social media, or is it more personal?
I would make it more personal, because it's your database that you want to thank, and not, you know what it's like, not everybody will see a social media post.
No, I suppose it's different touch
so
points.
You do need different touch points. So I would get it out to the database, make sure they've seen it. So send out email, follow up. Did you see the email? Perhaps with a text, because everybody sees their text. And then, you know, if you want to go one step further, especially if you're thinking about people you haven't spoken to for a while and certainly haven't seen for a while, just pick up the phone. Just wondered how you are. Did you get our email? Just thought of you, you know, and just have a, like I say, a service conversation, not a sales conversation, just so they know. And
with everyone you see, if you know, the first few people who book in, because there will obviously be like a backlog of people who are desperate to get in, use that time in the consult to tell people about it and to really educate them. We've just formalized a referral process. We've always had an informal referral. Now we formalize it. Can we explain a little bit about how this works? So use that time to educate every single patient who's coming back, so that they leave knowing exactly how it works. They've got some tools and some literature to use with it. And again, it's just another thing to put into the consult, into the conversation. So that's two ways. So we've talked about unconverted leads and a formalized referral program. A third way we would say is, this is the best, a rare opportunity to really reach out and see who you can joint venture with. And I mean complementary businesses, people who have access to the customers, to the clientele you want, because everybody's had a bit of a tough time. And, you know, whilst they may not have been as receptive to the idea in the past, I think now the receptiveness to collaborations and joint ventures will be a lot higher now. So it's about reaching out to people who've got access to the people you want, complementary businesses in your local area, and just taking a proposal to them, rather than saying, what can you do for me? Take a proposal to them. Here's what I think I can do for you, for your audience. Here's the value I can add, you know, or here's the value we could produce together for our audiences, for your customers and my customers, and just see what you can come up with. Because that's one of the quickest and cheapest ways to get more exposure, if you collaborate like that.
You know what it's like in this day and age, most people, especially because we've been online for so long, everybody focuses on social media and the online world. And, you know, COVID aside, we are living still in an offline world. We're desperate for that human connection. And the more you can get known in your local area, the better. So, you know, as Adam said, complementary businesses, but of course, who are the movers and shakers in your area? You know, if you're in an affluent area, maybe there's lots of private schools. There's usually one mum at the private school that knows everyone. And if you get in with them and say, look, we're hosting an online event, we'd love for you to join it, bring your friends. And when we're open again, we'd love to talk to you about how we can do maybe some skin health education events and things for people that you know, and just try to build your network online at the moment, but certainly when we're open again and in the real world again, that will really help to build the offline relationships as well.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, I think the community, you know, this whole situation has made us appreciate probably our local community a lot more, and the people around us that we may have not even sort of communicated with in the past. So yeah, it's
absolutely
nice.
Some of our clients have really been doing this well. One particularly is he's really proactive. So he's clinic manager, his wife's the doctor. They're really proactive in their community anyway. They do a lot of fundraising, really get out there, but they've really taken this to a whole new level, and he's really loved building those relationships locally, and it's really worked well for them. So don't discount it, basically.
Don't
Online one thing, but offline is massively important.
It can be such a big game changer if you joint venture with someone who has a significant following or a significant client base, who, you know, you can add something of real value to, even if it's just education. So this is not just a joint venture as if to say, I'll give your customers 10% off if they come and see me. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what value can you add, what value can you create for someone else's customers. And then reciprocating in the same way. Some
people have been doing it, you know, with online events for now, but having, you know, interviewing people like we're doing tonight, but, you know, having a handful of people in their local area really talking about, you know, well-being, health and well-being. You know, there's a big, obviously huge topic. Everyone needs to feel well at the moment, as well as look great. So who could you basically joint venture with in your local area to actually do something, maybe where there's 2 or 3 of you sharing things? So one of my clients who's I saw her name pop up a minute ago, she knows who she is, and she did a really good one recently with a journalist, a counsellor, because we were talking about health and well-being, and their skin therapist and herself as a doctor, and it really worked really well. And they were doing some at-home treatments, so it was just a really nice feel-good evening.
So bringing the complementary services together, and I think, yeah, again, it's looking at that holistic approach of not just the external but the internal part, you know.
Well, even more so now, absolutely, because your Flex at Home device makes people feel better as well, doesn't it? Because it's nice light therapy at home.
It's great to have a power nap and wake up rejuvenated and feel more energized. It's
brilliant.
It's been a lifesaver, definitely. But no, but I think also, you know, and why that home program has been very successful, because of course, you know, it's not just for people who just want to have that pick me up, but, you know, obviously people get that really challenging sort of skin conditions, acne, and, you know, even really problematic conditions. And, you know, when they've had their treatments taken, or their in-clinic treatments taken away, well, products are great, of course, but actually just adding something extra really, you know, has really helped to boost that. And, you know, we've had fantastic sort of feedback on it. So yeah.
I bet. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Yes, it sounds fabulous. So
I think it's great ideas. Yeah. So okay. So I suppose we're looking then ahead. We're coming out of lockdown, and I suppose a lot of people have been, obviously this is what you do, but, you know, looking at their businesses, it's been a good time to assess businesses and see what's been working and not working. So the next question comes down to treatment pricing and services, and what do you think are common mistakes that clinics make when they're sort of pricing their sort of treatment menu?
So lots of common mistakes we've seen over the years. A big one, so if you're new to aesthetics or reasonably new, maybe you've been in the NHS, you're a medic, and this is the first time you've ever charged for treatments. Sometimes there's this kind of uncomfortable feeling about charging what you're worth, asking for money, you know, the whole kind of sales approach to things. So there's a lot of work that we do with our clients about really being certain in your professional self-worth. You know, if somebody says to you, you know, it's how much? It's £300 for 30 minutes. Well, yeah, that's what you're paying for, is actually 10 years of experience. It's the result. It's everything that they're paying for. It's not just that time. It's ultimately having that, like I say, that certainty in your voice, to make sure that you are comfortable and confident in your own pricing, because you know what it's like, you know, how we our own behaviors, how we affect other people, the influence that we have on other people, if there's an element, even if it's subconscious, that you're thinking, oh God, it's £300, you know, even if subconsciously you're slightly recoiling, almost hesitating, or worse, apologizing for your pricing, the patient will pick up on that. They will think, even if they don't realize it consciously, oh, hold on a minute, why are they kind of uncertain about that pricing? So you've got to be, first of all, believe in your own self-worth and your self-value, and be very, very certain in how you deliver that price.
Yeah.
Another big one, really, if you think about especially again, if you're newer to the market, or if you're in an area where there's lots of competition, a lot of people tend to price themselves based on, well, what's everyone else charging?
Yes.
You know, let's then just see what we should charge. And actually, you know, we've worked with clients, actually from the beginning, before they even went out there, they knew they wanted to be the best in the area and actually be the most expensive. And they went out and did that, and lived by it and breathed by it, and had a certain criteria for who they wanted to work with. And that worked really well for them.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
I guess so it all goes down to understanding a little bit about who specifically you want to set yourself up to serve.
Yes,
you know,
I was going to say they should target what your price will dictate who you're going to target, probably. Yes.
Yeah.
Such an important thing. And there's three, the ideal client thing, we can have a whole session on this, but the three most important things are: your ideal client is somebody who highly values you and what you do, somebody who you also like, but crucially, somebody who has the capacity to pay the price you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you need all three of those things. Just having 2 out of 3 isn't going to work. So if you highly value them, so if you like them and they highly value you, but they don't have the capacity to pay you, then you're going to eventually go broke.
Mm-hmm.
If they highly value you and they have the capacity to pay you, but you don't like them, or you don't like working in this particular market, then you're going to get bored and frustrated before success even blooms.
Yeah.
And the other way around, you know, if you like them and they can afford you, they can pay what you ask, but they don't value you, then you're going to struggle to get clients.
Yeah.
That's why you need all three.
It's like the sweet spot of your ideal client. Yeah. Yeah, because if you think about what we do, we've got a niche within a niche. We know who our ideal clients are. And obviously the people on the webinar tonight, you know, getting a really good understanding of who your ideal clients are, who you love working with, who gets a great result, values what you do, and will pay the right price for the overall result.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Something actually we've been discussing, and we did a webinar a couple of webinars ago, and it was interesting. We were talking about you're selling a result. You're not just selling, you know, some Botox or injectables or a course of LED or whatever. You're selling an end result, and that's a package, you know. And we're a big fan of combination treatment, of course, because it's how that fits into the overall protocol to deliver that result to the client.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's critical. Anytime anyone on this tonight is feeling uncertain about their pricing, or they've done some calculations over lockdown and they've realized that actually they're probably not charging enough for certain things, and they've got that, I need to put my prices up, but how do I do it? It's about really communicating that well and standing by those prices. But one thing, sorry, before we move on to the next question, it's looking at the treatment profitability and actually working it out. I mean, we've got a great spreadsheet, very simple one that we use with our clients to say, right, what are you charging your patient? How much does it cost to deliver? What's all the consumable? And, you know, what are your overheads to deliver that? And ultimately, what's the profit margin left?
So
and
that's the big mistake, actually, when you in all this conversation. The big mistake some people make is let's say they look around at what others are charging in their area and they say, well, I best copy that, you know, best fall in around about that price, just under or just over or whatever. But some businesses have set their prices very strategically, knowing that the profit that's going to be generated after they've took all the costs out, because they've got a different business model. Yeah, they've got different overheads. They're paying a different price for raw materials, for products and things. So the price that they have set is based on calculations they've done, based on the numbers in their business. If you just grab that and put that on your website,
model,
then it might not transpire very well with the business model you have, especially if you've got sky high overheads. Yeah, you've got lots of staff and things like that. You're paying a lot more possibly for product than this other clinic, because maybe this other clinic has struck a better deal based on volume or whatever. So it's just be aware that if you are just going to copy your price, then there's a real danger that that price might not suit your business because it's being calculated for another business based on their circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, great thing about obviously your treatments is it is literally the cost of electricity, isn't it? There's no other consumables. Once they pay for the device, that's it.
Pure profit. Yeah. And I think interestingly, pricing always comes up, you know, and we would always say, obviously it does vary on location, and yeah, we have to take that. But also actually, it's not just about the location, but it's actually putting it into context of the other treatments that they're doing as well. And while we'd always say, it's not necessary to overcharge for the LED treatment because it's so integral into everything. It's like a core foundation treatment that everybody should be having. But equally, I think people miss the profitability aspect and think, just because they charge a treatment with a high price, that's going to be, I can't charge enough for Dermalux, so actually, I'm not going to get as much profit. But actually, something that, like you just said, at a very high price might have a high, it could be injectables, but it's the cost of the treatment. I'm not saying that we're not, obviously it's about people have to do all the treatments together. It's not replacing anything, but it's putting it into that context that, there isn't a cost of the treatment, and we don't really have to stand there with the client. So the cost is, purely, it's a very high profit treatment.
Yeah, because you've had, with the Flex, quite a lot of clinics, they've been renting them out, haven't they, to their patients at home. They've paid for the device, and now there's a few clinics that have been buying more than one, renting it out, so they're getting that rental,
ongoing revenue.
Your profit.
And we've got a couple of clinics who are in, one, she's online, I'm not sure, but she's on a 7th, Flex for rental. We've got a few 6, 7, and it's fantastic that's become a business model. But I think, that's something that will continue because, that's a service, and because of the nature of the treatment, where people will, having an intensive course of treatment is great for this, particularly if you've got more problematic skin. So being able to continue to offer this, even when we open the clinics again, it then frees up time to do other treatments where you're combining the LED in, as part of that as well. So it's become a very successful, let's say, business model, I think.
Yeah, wasn't there one clinic, so she got about 7 and she's renting it out for a couple of hundred a week?
Yes. So
and now the devices are paid for, it's kind of, that's pure profit, basically.
Exactly. And all we're doing is literally facilitating, and we've got all the support materials that go alongside, sort of helping with that rental, which again, we touched on that, but we could, if people need that information, then they can come along and get that from us too. But it's I think obviously this COVID situation has made us operate very differently because we've had to, but I think maybe, it's brought some positive things in terms of looking at clinics stepping back and looking at actually how they operate, how they charge. We're just talking about treatment charging as well. So
definitely, honestly, a big exercise that we did with, it's kind of one of the fundamental things that we do with all our clients in the beginning of working with them anyway, but it's something that we really fine-tune in the first lockdown, and now again in this second lockdown, is really just looking at profitability, productivity. I call it like the leaky bucket analogy or the leaky boat analogy. So think of your business as a little boat, and it's going to have a few leaks coming out the bottom, time, profitability, patient retention, your energy, especially obviously, everybody's feeling a bit up and down at the moment, understandably. So it's looking at how can you plug those leaks and make yourself more efficient, more profitable, but still being ethical, still being you.
Yes.
And just look at fine tuning. We've had some clients we work with really make some difficult decisions because they've looked at the facts and figures in more detail than they've ever done before. But it's actually enabled them to go, do you know what? Right, we're going to focus on those core treatments, that treatment plan, put those into packages. Maybe we're not going to promote those as much because they're not as profitable, we don't get as much of a good result, and we're going to get all the right team members on board in the right roles that are really happy, really engaged, really on board, and the right patients that can deliver what our targets are for the year. So it's what can you do, I guess, during this period while we're still shut, to really look at your leaks, so that when you're open and you turn around your little boat and you start to set sail with some great marketing, you know, as they come in the top of your funnel, they're not coming out the bottom, if you like. So it's always an analogy that we use. So what leaks can you plug marketing wise, retention wise, profitability wise, and really use this time productively? Yeah.
Sorry, went off a bit on there.
I did go off on tangent.
Price.
Sorry.
No. I think we've covered the price. No, I think that, but you know, we could probably talk all day about one question, but you know, it's
anyone that knows me on this tonight will know that we can. Sorry,
we just touched on this before. I suppose, you know, we use the flex rental program as an example, but you know, since lockdown, many clinics have had to find new ways to generate revenue. I know that's through product sales, or you know, things that we can do remotely. But how might, you know, so I suppose it's looking at those things and then building on that when the restrictions are lifted. So we're going back into the clinic now. So it's what things, how can we then turn that back around and bring people back into the clinic?
Yeah, I mean, what our clients have done, and we've encouraged them to do, is, especially in the first wave of lockdown, is to look at ways to pivot, look at ways to take off one hat and put a different one on. And in that time, they've discovered, they've learned a hell of a lot about their own patients, about what their wants are, what their unmet needs are, and they've connected with them on a level that they've never connected with them before. And really discovered about what the real needs and the real wants of their patient bases are. And then they've created things to fulfill those needs. So I would say, take all of that learning, take all of those insights, take everything you've learned about your patients, everything you've learned about what they really want and what they really value from you, and build on that going forward. Yeah, because if you've done that work, you'll have had a lot of insights into how you can actually take things forward. And you'll have probably learned that there are things that you never knew people were interested in or are as interested in until now. And you may also come to the conclusion that there were things we were doing before that actually people weren't particularly bothered about, and it wasn't a big profit center. So you might come out of lockdown and go, we're going to do more of these things because we know people are hungry for it, and we're actually going to phase these other things out. Because what we've learned is that we've been trying, like we were trying forever to try and market and push this. But actually, we've discovered in lockdown that not many of our patients are going to take much of an interest in it. So use the learning, use the insights to push forward, and I guess, you know, wherever we are with respect to restrictions, if it is possible to start, you know, bringing people closer. In terms of, right, now we know a bit more about what our patients want, or what they're keen on learning more about. Can we start to bring them closer to us? Is it feasible to start doing educational events again, not just online but offline, in the clinic, and look at ways to build on that using all of the offline means that we haven't been able to during lockdown. So that's my
and I was talking to, so before tonight, I was talking to one of our clients this afternoon who's got your Dermalux in their clinic. But I said to her, what do you think's been the biggest, I suppose we've had lots of revelations since we've worked together in the last sort of year and a bit. But certainly in lockdown, she said one thing that they've really focused on is that patient journey, and really looking at almost going back to basics, you know, in terms of what is it that the core values that we believe in, you know, in terms of the results, the service we provide, and how we make people feel, as well as how we make people look. And what they've done, because they've had various challenges with staff and things like that, they've just focused on their core team, just saying, do you know what? We've got a great team here. We know we deliver great results. Let's just really fine tune the patient journey and really make sure that people feel really special, because you guys are all in the business of feelings as well as how you make people look. It's how you make them feel, and that is what people will remember. So if you can use this time to fine tune your patient journey to make sure that, again, any leaks are plugged, you know, whether that's reminding people that their skincare is due, whatever it is, just think about every touch point and make sure you come out of this with even stronger relationships than you had before, because you've got that personal connection even more so.
Yeah, I suppose.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think, although we'll come out of this lockdown and we'll hopefully get back to some normality, but I suppose things will be different, like we experienced out of lockdown 1, where there are still restrictions in place, so there'll be things that we can still do if you get the core foundation right, then there's things we can still do remotely, like you said, even if it's consultation, things that are minimizing that. So we're just bringing in the clients for their value treatments then. So
and we always say one thing that we said, just going back to sort of fundamentals and the basics, how you run your business in good times reflects how it will survive the bad times. And obviously I'm sure lots of people have had wake-up calls and learnings during these bad times, but let's not forget, when you're open again and you're busy again, don't lose these core new habits that you've built. Don't just run your business looking at your bank balance and what's actually just use the fundamental things that you've learned to kind of continue to grow your business moving forward.
Yeah,
it's true.
We have to take something and move on from it.
Oh God, absolutely. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to just stress that as well. Like what we see a lot of, again, in our experience with clients, is they'll hit a bit of a a stumbling block. We're not as busy as we usually are. We're not getting as many inquiries as we usually do. Things have flattened a bit. This is in normal times, and then we'll go back to, well, tell me about the last time you were super busy, super booked, and you had everything. You're on top of the world. And then they'll say, oh, we had a fantastic month in this month, 6 months ago. And we'll say, right, what are the kind of things you were doing in that month to get that outcome? Oh, we used to do this, we used to do that, we did that. Right, how much of that are you doing today? Don't do hardly any of it, really. I says, well, this is the reason, it's cause and effect. So just getting back to that, don't lose the magic, basically, is the message there.
Yeah, when you get busy again and open again, it's the fundamental things.
Exactly. So whatever you've been doing that's led to success, keep doing more of it. One of our mottos is do more of what works. Yeah, do more of what works and don't lose sight of that.
Yeah. Success leaves clues.
So on to the next question. So how can I get my patients coming back in more regularly for treatments, and sort of what are some of the fundamental things that we can do to maximize patient retention? So I'm sure everyone's quite keen to come back and have the treatments after so long, but that's repeat visit, building that repeat, I suppose.
Absolutely. Look, the biggest reason any person leaves a business, whether it's a patient, a customer, whether it's a patient not returning to a clinic, us not returning to, well, we can't go to any restaurants at the moment, but you know what I mean? Yes. Any business that loses a customer, the number one reason is what we would call perceived indifference. So it's basically they've got the perception, in whether they realize it consciously or this is a subconscious perception, that you are kind of indifferent to their business because you haven't kept in touch, you haven't reminded them that their treatment is due, you haven't given them a call or sent them a message to say, how are you? You've just, and this happens for a lot of reasons, you've kind of left it up to them. Oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to be pushy. They'll just contact me when they're ready. I don't want to be salesy, but this kind of whole perception that whether you mean it or not, I'm sure you don't mean it, obviously, but if you don't have a retention strategy for recalling, reminding, getting people back in when they're overdue and lapsed, if you don't have a proper strategy in place and you're leaving it to chance and to hope, then whether you mean to or not, people will go, oh, they obviously weren't that bothered about my business because I never heard from them again.
Yeah, that's it. It's the indifference.
It's the indifference.
The indifference comes from, well, the impression that it's the impression that this business probably doesn't care whether I come back or not. They don't see me as huge value to their business. So that's where the indifference comes from. And it's amazing. We experience it all the time in what was real life not long ago. For like, I don't know, we've been places like hotels, restaurants, and some places who do a really good job will remember your name, and they will engage with you and they'll chat with you and they might even connect with you offline. Yeah, so they are letting you know as a customer that they really value you and they really want to do everything they can to give you a great experience and keep you coming back.
Yeah.
And there's those restaurants who you've been time after time, but they still don't recognize your face and they still don't know your name. And it's like you're a brand new customer every time. And it's like, that's where indifference comes from. This place couldn't care less.
Yeah.
You know, they just,
yeah,
they're indifferent to me as a person, indifferent to me as a customer. And that's a big reason why a lot of patients wander off into the arms of somebody who will look after them and make a fuss of them.
Yeah.
So,
and there's nothing worse than, you know, maybe one of your patients says to their friend, oh, this great experience with this practitioner. She really got on well. You know, I walked away with some skincare. We did this, we did that. But I never heard from them again. And their friend says, oh, I've heard there's a new clinic opening down the road. You know, they're doing some nibbles and fizz and stuff. Shall we go? Yeah, might as well go. Because they never heard from you again. So it's a really simple thing, but basically make sure you've got a system in place to remind, to recall, but more importantly, don't let them go out of the clinic or off the phone until there's a next step in the diary that you're in control of. Don't just leave it to chance. Make sure you control that process, that relationship, because you're in charge of their skin health.
yeah.
And it's a journey that they go on with you, but you're the one in control.
It's your work and you need to keep track of the quality of the work that you've done. You know, basically, it's like a dentist. A dentist has produced a result. There's a lot gone into that result. They want to check that things are still correct.
The follow-up
and they insist on the follow-up.
Yeah. But I think that's just a natural sort of human, you know, we want, and when you've built it up, and I suppose from the clinic point of view, like we said at the beginning, you know, there's a huge cost to actually getting new clients, but actually the cost of retaining them, you know, but actually we have to value that more and more.
Oh, honestly, the amount of people that say to us, oh, Pam, I just want some more new patients. And I say, right, before we go there, let's look at your database first. How many is on there? And as long as you've got at least 100, 200 or more, there is some gold mine there, you know, for you to work with. Because if you think about it, there's only 3 ways of growing a business. So you've got, number 1, get new customers. Number 2, increase the average spend of that customer. And number 3, increase the frequency of spend. If you concentrate on those 3 things, now, if you did new customers, if you just increase your new customers by 10%, increase the average spend by 10%, and the frequency of spend by 10%, your turnover, not profit, turnover will grow by 33%. But the magic happens when you actually, now make sure I've got the figures right. Is it 20, 30, 20?
Yeah, increase the number of new customers by 30%, increase the average spend
by 20%,
and the frequency of spend by 30%. You actually get a 100% increase in turnover. So, oh yeah, we ran the figures multiple times on our own business, on clients' businesses. That's where the magic is, and the retention is a huge part. It's 30% frequency of spend. So we and making sure, you know, when we talk about average spend, it means making sure that patients understand every single thing that you do. They understand all the different ways you can help them, and all the different things that you have available. Making sure they have that awareness. And we always ask this to clients as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that all of your patients know about everything you do? Nobody ever answers 10.
No.
Nobody ever answers 10 because they know that there's, oh, I don't think they know about that. And this is the thing. There will be things that you do, results that you can achieve that your patients do not know about, and they are getting them somewhere else.
And there is nothing worse than those horrible words. I didn't know you did that. I went somewhere else and I didn't want to tell you because I was too embarrassed.
Which is, well, I would say when you're lying under a Dermalux for 20 minutes, half an hour, it's perfect. You've got the perfect audience to tell you all about everything that we do.
Absolutely. You've
got a captive audience and they can't run away at that point.
Brilliant. But you've got to, like you say, you've got to use things like silent selling tools in the clinic. So when they are lying under the Dermalux, yes, I know we want them to switch off. We want them to feel better and look better. But is your clinic positioned not on terms of millions of posters and making it look all, you know, cluttered, but is it positioned so that you are driving the conversation to say, I didn't know you did that. So there's something on the wall, beautifully done, or, you know, if you haven't got much room, a pull-up banner, whatever it is, nicely done. Did you know we can help with, you know, skin rejuvenation, muscle pain, you know, skin tightening? Talk about the conditions, and then it will open up the conversation. And then the other thing you can do, now I know we're not going to have people coming in and sat in a waiting room and filling out forms at the moment, certainly for a while. But what you can do either before they come, if you're sending out your consent forms electronically, just a little addendum, you know, what else bothers you or what else concerns you, and then list the conditions that you can help with. So like light treatments can help with all sorts of things, can't it? Skin rejuvenation, acne, scarring,
pigmentation, psoriasis, pain relief.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, really sensitized conditions. So I think there's a lot there. Obviously, rejuvenation is always going to be a big area, but, you know, we've got maskne now, which is going to be, you know, a sort of a big thing, but actually just really focusing it, you know, around, but even the well-being aspect, you know, if people just want to come and sort of relax as well. So I think the nice thing with that treatment is it offers, in one device, it offers a wide range of application that people probably wouldn't, or that I don't think a lot of clinics necessarily promote the additional benefits over and above the regular sort of skin conditions. So
absolutely. So it is, just making sure that you're set up so that you're not being pushy, but you're literally saying, you know, in the clinic, somehow there's what we would call a silent selling tool, talking about the conditions that you help people with, so that they go, oh, I didn't know you did that. My son's got acne. What can you do for him?
Exactly. Yes, and it's all, and then that comes into almost like the retention or the referral sort of program, because a lot of people will know, even if they haven't got that problem themselves, they'll know somebody with these kind of conditions. So particularly things like psoriasis, which, you know, seems to be quite common. We're getting a lot of inquiries for that now, which and it's obviously it's very difficult to treat. So.
And it's a stress-related condition as well, isn't it?
Be more prevalent now, you know, coming out of lockdown, absolutely. So
absolutely,
it's a very marketable thing in the clinic. I mean, you could even express it as, you know, if you list all the conditions that you can help with, and the title above that is, here's all the things we do. Who do you know who might need what we do right now?
Yes, exactly. So
and that's literally asking the question.
Yeah, so it's not putting the focus on them. Do you need that? No, you know, it's who do you know?
One last point on retention as well. We have had in the past clients come to us early on in their journey, and they say, well, I'm getting a lot of people coming in for like one-time things. They come and have a treatment and they don't come back. You know, one-time buyers, one-time purchasers, and kind of wondering why that is. And then when we actually deep dive into their treatment menus and their marketing, they've set it up in that way. They've literally, you know, they've marketed it as a kind of a in and out one-time only treatment. So I say, well, this is a cause, again, it's cause and effect. What you track, what you put out. So if you're inviting people and setting yourself up as a kind of, well, this is, you get this and you're done, then that's what you're going to get. So it's all about looking at the overall result, who it's for, and what are the stages, because it is a journey, you know, to get a result. What are the stages? What's involved in getting that result? And then you can start coming up with things like plans and packages that have become quite good long-term revenue generators for you.
Because retention has got to be a win for them, win for the patient, because they're getting the result, a win for you as a business, and a win for you as a practitioner, because you've got a really happy patient, you know, and it is a journey that they go on. So I would guess, you know, talking to the audience, if there's things that we're talking about here that you're like, yeah, we know about that, you might know it, but just make sure that you're doing it and you're doing it consistently. Because our business coach always says growing a business is actually quite boring in terms of becoming successful and rich, because it's actually consistent habits done regularly, the reminders, the referrals, the talking about other things that you can help them with. It's the basic fundamentals, and that never changes. You know, there's no one quick way of growing a business. It is the compounded effect, the incremental effect of all of these things in place will make a big difference. So your pricing, your retention, looking at your profits, looking at all the treatment menu, do all your patients know about everything you do, making sure the team are on board with all of that. So it's lots of things added up to make a big difference.
There's lots to think about. Yeah,
I know.
So yeah, it's a good job we've got a few more weeks of this lockdown yet, just to
it's never ending.
It is never ending.
Unfortunately.
Look, I think this time that we've had, we would never dreamed that we would have had this time, and it's given a lot of businesses. I know it's been difficult, but if we look at it in a positive way, it's allowed time to reflect and to to look forward and how things can be changed. Otherwise, we go on this hamster wheel of doing the same thing again and again, and we're never growing. So
and didn't they say that's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. And you're right about slowing down. One thing that we said in the first lockdown, once everyone was over the initial shock, slow down to speed up. Yeah. So really slow down, think about everything, take some deep reflection time. We've got some great questions that we've been using with our clients to really get people thinking, and we'll end on a good one for all of you tonight. But it is a good time now to kind of really make full use of this time, because hopefully we'll never get it again. So anyway, so carry on. Have you got any more questions?
Yes, well, there's a few. We did have one on consultations, but we're actually, just watch this space, we're actually going to do a webinar on consultations specifically. So but I think another sort of question that we'd had a few people sort of come to us with was looking at sort of introducing treatments. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to get their existing patients interested in a new treatment? I think to be honest, we've just touched on this.
We've touched on it,
but doesn't want to come across too pushy or salesy. I mean, that's always going to be, that links to consultation.
We have touched on it, but I think the main thing I would say is don't tell and try and sell. Ask questions. Ask high quality questions to get them talking and really opening up about their concerns and what's really bothering them. Because you know what it's like, especially if you're newer, you tend to go, oh, so I'm so-and-so and I've been doing it this length of time, and what have you come for me today for? Oh, great, right, we can solve that. But actually, before you do any of that, we've got a series of questions that we say, so we call it punt with a Q. So the punt is pain, urgency, needs and trust, and then the Q is the question. So pain. What level of pain? I don't mean physical pain. It could be, because they could use the Dermalux to help with that. But yeah, no, definitely muscle pain, back pain. So pain.
So that's not a problem.
But what level of pain are they in? What's really concerning them? What's led to them seeing you or speaking to you today? On a scale of 0 to 10, how much is it really sort of bothering them? Really get into the urgency of it by asking those 0 to 10 questions, because they could be really early on in their journey and actually I'm just doing some information searching, and they're not in enough pain. It's not enough urgent enough. Yeah. Then the N is need. So what do they really need? What does the outcome really look like for them? They're going to need a mixture of the sort of the logical part of the brain, knowing price and how does it work and what are the ingredients, and is it going to hurt, downtime, and then the emotional part of the brain will need to know what the result's going to look like, how they're going to feel. So that's the need. And then the trust, leave that to the end. What do they know about you and the results that you get? What do they know about your clinic? What led them to you today? So don't start with positioning yourself. Leave that to the end once you've asked some great questions. So pain, urgency, need, and trust. And if you can do that, with some really open questions that start with a W or an H. So which, when, where, what, and how.
When as well.
And when, thank you. That opens up the conversation rather than, are you ready to book? No. When would you like to book? When are you thinking of having the treatment? You know what I mean? So you're using those 5 W's and an H to really open the questions, not using closed questions like are you, will you, shall you, that can only give you a yes or no answer.
It's all there. Exactly. It's just, it all goes back to, look, and again, some of the lesser experienced people, and this applies to any business owner, not just a practitioner or a clinic owner, there's a tendency for to just by default, just give the customer what they've come in and asked for. And that's the equivalent of a vending machine, pretty much. You know, I want X. Okay, well, there you go. You can have X. But you know, if you do that, then you're not really showcasing. You're doing yourself, you're doing everyone an injustice. Really, you need to showcase everything you can do to help, and you can only have that conversation when you start asking questions.
And it might not be, yeah, then what they think they want might not be what actually they want, and then they get disappointed with the end result. It's so I suppose that, I mean, like, that's a whole, like we said, the consultation part is critical to all of this, and is a subject for another day, which we will look at. But
it's a presenting problem. So the presenting problem is the thing they come to and they ask you about, or
like
for
the surface problem.
The surface problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is where you got to try and open up using the pain, urgency, need, trust type questions. Open it up. Is that really the problem? Is that really the core thing, or is there something else? Are there other things? What else is bothering you? How urgent is this on a scale of 0 to 10? A really good question to really get to the center would be, if you could only improve one thing about X, what would you choose? And that's going to crystallize their thinking. So all the different things that they might be thinking about, they'll zone straight in to the thing that matters the most to them. And it's probably something that's really driving them nuts, or is really painful for them right now.
So you learn a lot about them at that moment. Yeah.
We would call that like the bullseye question. You know, when somebody's really talking, perhaps they're a bit nervous, it's their first treatment, their first visit to the clinic, and everything's coming out. And if you literally just say, do you know, if you could only improve one thing about your skin, what would that be? And it just focuses the mind.
It builds trust as well, I would have said. Yeah. I mean, because they know that you care about them. You're asking questions. You're not just accepting, like you said, like the vending machine thing. You're not just saying, okay, I accept that, I'll do that. You're actually trying to widen that and be prescriptive to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we saw, I mean, we give quite a lot of content away for free on our Facebook page, but there was a really good video. So when I was the chair at the business stage at CCR, the last CCR we had, which would have been 2019.
About 5 years ago.
I know, October 2019. So I was chairing and Adam was filming, and we would there was about 4 speakers talking about consultations and what patients really want. So go on to our Facebook page, which is the public one, Aesthetic Business Transformations, under live videos, and there was a really good one from Dr. Tim Pearce, really good one from journalist Alice, my mind's gone blank, her surname. Thank you, Alice Hart-Davis, yes. Treatment lady, and there was a really good one from Sabrina Shah Desai, and Ron Myers did a good one as well, all about consultations, and so they're all about 20 minutes each, but definitely worth a watch. We've got loads of videos on there, so just dip in and have a little look. So you should, An
interesting one about the consultation, actually, just to give you a little fun example of asking questions and how the outcome can differ. I remember going into Boots one time and I was feeling really cold and fluey, and I walked in there and I asked for a bottle of Night Nurse, and the lady at the counter kind of didn't budge, just said, who's this for? I was just, well, it's for me. So what's the problems you got? I says, well, you know, I've got a terrible cough, and I won't go on, I feel headachy, cold and fluey, terrible cough. And she said, how are you sleeping? She says, I'm sleeping pretty good. So you don't want a bottle of Night Nurse then? I was like, because the Night Nurse, the outcome you get with Night Nurse is a good night's sleep. Oh, so what you want is this. So straight away, she pointed me in the different direction of a medicine and of things that'll be more appropriate. You know what I mean? Because she asked the right questions.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of the way the consult can really move in the right direction. If you ask a high quality question, they could end up with something that's even more appropriate, more suitable for the actual thing that they want fixing.
I think it could be simple questions, I suppose. Yeah, we're not trying to overcomplicate these things, are they?
No, it's fact finding. Asking.
Yeah,
asking, not telling.
Yes.
Because telling isn't telling, basically.
No.
So anyway, we've just gone 8 o'clock. So what else have you got?
Well, I think
to let everyone go, we've got one more question.
Well, no, I think the questions that have come in previously, I know I'm not sure on the chat side. I don't know if we'll have a look, but what we'll say is that, you know, if there are, I'm sure there's lots of questions here. So, you know, just want to thank you so much. You know, you've given us lots to think about. I'm sure if, you know, if people want more information, then please, you know, we're going to share your details as well, so they can come to you if they want any more information about the Dermalux treatments, then or anything to do with Dermalux. Yeah, please come to us at the info@dermaluxled.com. This session though is recorded, and we're going to edit it, and it's going to be available via our YouTube channel. And everybody that's registered for the webinar, we're going to send you we'll follow your practice. We're going to follow up and say thank you very much, and here's access to that. And there'll be a little code as well in case there's anything that you want to follow up on. So
oh, brilliant. And if anyone, so on our website we give away it's our 9 strategies to boost your aesthetics profit. So it's a guide on the homepage of our website. It's like 65 pages. You'll never think that we've got loads of content, would you? But it's 65 pages. You can download, read, absorb, go and implement. Let us know how you get on. All the contact details are there.
Very actionable stuff.
Very actionable stuff. But it's our website is aesthetic-BT for business transformations, not British Telecom, aesthetic-bt.com, and then you can get in contact with us, info@aesthetic-bt.com. But do have a look. There's loads of articles that we've written, or I've written, like I say, free videos, loads of things we give away that will help you guys. But don't just read it, take action, implement, and feedback to us how you get on. So the next article we're writing is about actually using there's some success stories about skincare and things like Flex in lockdown for Consulting Room magazine.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, we'll look forward to reading that and getting more information. But like I said, we will be sending out a follow-up e-shot to everyone that's registered. So we'll put all your contact details in there as well, so people can easily come to you and get more information.
Wonderful. And we'll leave you with one final thought, shall we? So a question to ask yourself.
Oh yeah. So there are 10 questions. We'll just leave you with one. So the 10 questions we always ask people to really get people thinking about. It's like a business appraisal, where they are now. You know, and the question we always end with, it's a bit of a woo-woo question, and it's this. So grab a pen. It is, if your business could talk, what would it ask of you? Yeah, if your business could talk, what would it ask of you? So have a think about that over a bottle of wine or a couple of beers or whatever, and see what comes out. Because, you know, this is just an example of some of the questions that we throw at our clients to really get them thinking about.
They're not all woo-woo.
What needs to change? What needs to change? What could change, and what is actually, you know, where things should really head.
Especially for this year, because we've had a lot to deal with in the last year. So if your business could talk, what would it ask of you for this year?
Yeah. One thing about.
I think it's a great end to a great conversation and great webinar. So thank you very, very much. Thanks again to both. And
thank you.
All right, and thank you to everyone that's joined, you know, and for taking the time to be with us today. And we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope it's been helpful. And we look forward to the next webinar very soon. All right.
Brilliant.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you. Take care.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.